Hello, listeners, and welcome to M26 Fit, the podcast that powers your spirit, mind, and body. I'm Magnus, and thank you for joining us today as we dive into stories and strategies from top athletes, health experts, and everyday warriors. We're here to inspire and challenge you to become the strongest, fittest, and healthiest version of yourself inside and out. So hit the subscribe button and let's get cracking on yet another exciting episode. Today on the M26 Fit podcast, we're pumped to have fellow Chippy in the studio, Ed from TradeMutt. Welcome, mate.
Good to be here.
Mate, let's just start to put it into context for our listeners. Just give us share a little bit of your backstory for us.
I'm just, what am I? Probably 31-year-old ex-tradie, born and bred in Longreach, Queensland. So, sort of central west Queensland. Grew up on sheep and cattle stations, went to boarding school in grade 6. Did a little bit of time in the Northern Territory on big stock and stations and stock camps out there, big station outside Mount Isa, and then did a year of tertiary education, I suppose. Did a year of agribusiness down in Geelong and went back to the Territory after that. Then came back to Brisbane, did a mature age carpentry apprenticeship, started TradeMutt, launched TIACS, and now I'm here talking to you.
Wow. So when you're in the trade, were you commercial or residential?
Dan and I were both residential.
Yep.
So we were working for a builder who did a lot of raise and build unders around Brisbane and extensions. So, I was just started my mature age carpentry apprenticeship, and Dan was a tradie already at that stage. We both started working for the same builder on the same day. And, because I had started basically coming from managing people previously, albeit poorly, to then being at the bottom of the pile again, I was just really hungry for knowledge and wanted to basically scoot through my apprenticeship as quickly as possible. Yeah. And I said, because we did it through Blue Dog training, and I remember Kerry was the trainer that I had, and I said to him when I first went in there and signed up to do my apprenticeship, I was like, can you do this in 3 years? He goes, oh, you can, but probably, very rarely. Anyway, then I remember after I got signed off in 3 years, I looked him dead in the eye, I said, I told you I'd do it in 3 years. So I was just really keen to get it done and punch out of there, and then, basically TradeMutt launched after that.
Fantastic. What was the inspiration behind TradeMutt? Just share that story for us.
Well, it was a culmination of things, really. I think Dan and I both had a pretty healthy appetite for, I suppose, we were quite aspirational to do something different. We were always looking at the tradie sort of, I suppose, the progression from doing a trade, becoming, licensed, and then you become a builder. And there's just so many builders we looked at and we're like, this looks like the most fucked lifestyle. They're all either on the brink of breaking up with their partner or have broken up with their partner. They're always stressed out. They can never find staff. They're always having blues with the people they're working for. It just seems like a really awful way to do business. And it wasn't something we were really interested in. And we had lots of different things that would pop up sort of during my apprenticeship and me working with Dan was, I remember one day we're doing this awful job in Milton. It was just this awful gradient, this house we were working on. And we were working right up the back, doing a retaining wall, and we're ripping all this dirt out of this retaining wall. And I remember my boss was like, oh, we've got to find somewhere to take this fill. And he's like, we'll probably have to pay to dump it. And I just threw my hands in there. I was like, how the is there not someone in Brisbane needing fill today? Yep. We've got it, they need it, they're going to pay for it, and we're going to pay for it. It's insane. We should be able to dump it over there.
Yep. And
I said, there's got to be an app or something for this, And he goes, oh, there is one, but it's shit. And then Dan and I looked at each other like, we'll build a better one. So that was the idea of let's just do something different. But we'd already had some ideas for work shirts. Why has no one ever done anything with workwear? And then the inspiration really for the genesis of TradeMutt as a business was we're on a job site in Kenmore. We were putting, those matrix sheets cladding. They're bastards of things. Anyway, I was a lot lighter than I am now, if you can believe it. So I was probably 10 kilos lighter than I am now, and heavy bastards of things to pick up. And Dan's up the scaffold, and I'm down there cutting this sheet, and Dan's phone had rung, and I still vividly remember this as well. It was just like this, crazy sort of memory. And Dan got this phone call, and you could just hear this bloke just hollering through the phone, just elated this bloke was. Anyway, I'm sitting there holding onto this fucking sheet being like, hurry up, And Dan gets off the phone. I was like, who was that? He goes, oh, it's my mate. He goes, he's just got a carpentry apprenticeship, mature age carpentry apprenticeship. He's starting on Monday. He's like, it's awesome. He's been chasing a mature age carpentry apprenticeship for ages. He's like, I'm so pumped. You just see it in Dan's face. He's like, just so elated for his mate. And then Sunday morning, I get a phone call from my boss being like, Dan's mate's taken his life over the weekend. I'm like, fuck. So I've gone around to, Dan's place there in Toowong, and it was just like a funeral. Like everyone was just a mess.
So this bloke had just got his mature age carpentry, and then he topped himself a few days later.
Sunday morning.
Wow.
And it was this situation where I'd never met Dan's mate. Obviously, Dan was my best mate, is my best mate, and he's there, and he's just a wreck, and you just don't know what to do. You just got to kind of be there, right?
Yeah.
I suppose the weeks and the months and everything that kind of went after that, we were just looking at this space being like, why is this mental health thing such a massive issue? Like, we've never, like, that was the first time we'd even had a conversation about it.
And that was 2018, wasn't it?
No, it was 2015.
15, okay.
That when that incident happened.
Right.
And so, we were just, Dan and I were just spending a lot of time together. Like I was saying, I was hungry to do work and learn, so we were doing catches on weekends, and we were just working just months and months, like straight. Saturday, Sundays, bathroom renos, after work, like we were just doing as much work as we possibly could. And we're saving up all this money, and we were like, well, what are we going to do? Like, we don't want to go and piss it up the wall. Like, we've worked our fucking asses off to save this money up. What are we going to do? And as I said, we're having these conversations about mental health, and there's this massive problem, and seems like young men are the ones that are killing themselves, and we don't know anything about suicide, depression, anxiety. What is all this stuff? And we were just like, maybe there's a way we can combine this work shirt idea that we had and actually trying to raise a bit of awareness and get some people talking about this issue, because what we were realising was it was just marketed really poorly. And Dan always has this really good example of, before we kind of started, the way mental health was sold to us was on a bus shelter, bloke sitting there in a dimly lit room, and that's depression. And he and I both looked at that and like, that's fucking bullshit. Like, that's not what it is. Like, people can look like that, but no one associates with that. And so if no one's associating with it, no one's going to put their hand up for help. And there's just this really dirty, fucking murky ground. And after a lot of conversation with a lot of different people, we basically got to the realisation that we were going to launch this social enterprise workwear brand. With funky work shirts, and start conversations about mental health.
Yeah, and it's just evolved from there.
Yeah, rapidly. So, I mean, as I said, we knew absolutely nothing except that we wanted to do something. Yeah. And I think that's kind of been our, I would say something that's really helped us progress along really well. Like, we've just been so naive. Our COO now, Jess, like, she often reminisces on just the thought of how the fuck we ever got product into this country and sold it. She just cannot comprehend that.
I think it's actually a good, from a barrier perspective, like when you know what you know now, you'd think, shit, I could never ever do that. But not knowing sometimes can be a blessing.
It is. Yeah. And it is a beautiful thing, actually, when you don't have a clue.
Yes.
And you're just eager, like, we're just young and hungry, and like, we'll just do anything. We'll run through any wall we need to. If there's a problem, we'll fix it, whatever it is. We don't have a lot of resources except our time and sort of our eagerness, and that's just what we did.
How have you seen it evolve? So when you first kicked it off until now, has there been an improvement, do you think, in mental health awareness with the level of awareness that we have across the board?
I mean, we're in a silo, right? Like, we're in our own little world. So everything that we see is that, there's lots of conversations that are happening. There's a lot more shared understanding of mental health as something that we all have. It's not mental health's not anxiety and depression. It's a part of it, but everyone's got mental health. I think that's the thing that we're seeing really resonate more with a larger population. Obviously, TIACS, which we'll talk about as well, which is the non-profit which we fund and founded. We had 9 new clients on Monday, so it's working. So it's there's definitely a big transition happening for sure.
Yeah. What about generationally? Like, I know that you mentioned that there's a big problem as far as suicide is concerned with the more younger men, but have the older guys in the industry embraced this?
Yeah, they have. Surprising. Like, the older guys have actually probably embraced it more. at times, because from I suppose the hypothesis from us, without knowing really, is probably that they've either lost someone or they know someone that's lost someone, or they've struggled themselves. Like I was saying to Dan just this week, Monday morning, over the weekend, my wife and I had a couple of big gym sessions. So we're like, we won't go to the gym this morning, we'll just go for a nice walk with the dog, take the dog for a walk. So we went down to our coffee shop, sitting there waiting for our coffee to come out, and bloke rode in on his push bike. He's wearing a TradeMutt shirt. I said, "Oh, nice shirt, mate." He goes, "Oi." He goes, "Oh, yeah, you'd like it, wouldn't you?" Yeah, anyway, he obviously recognised me, which was cool, and we're just chatting, and his name was Jules, and I said, "Thanks for the support, mate, I really appreciate it." And he goes, "Mate," he goes, he would have been I'm going to say late 50s, early 60-year-old bloke, and he goes, "Mate," he goes, "I've battled depression." He goes, "I've been through it." He goes, "I wear these shirts every day so I can help someone else that's either going through it or stop someone from going through it." Like, that was his thing, right?
Yep. And
I was saying to Dan on the phone, I was like, that's awesome. You know what I mean? Like, that's an older dude who we're not really directly targeting, but he's embraced it, and it's a part of who he is now and his story. So it's really cool. It's empowering. That
is absolutely awesome, because that really shows, because I think there has been a cultural shift, hasn't it, of people wanting to be awareness. Now, you guys, I see you around very predominantly in the commercial construction sector. What about in the residential sector, and do you guys also in the mining sector?
Yeah, we're picked up all over the place, which is great. Like the residential stuff, like the shirt I'm wearing today, it's full print. I mean, when we were working residential, we could wear whatever we wanted, which is great. So the full print stuff and the polos is what the residential guys really get into, and then the custom and core prints that we do in the high vis, they're right through the mining and civil and commercial construction, which is really cool.
Yeah. What do you see as some of the barriers still to be able to get the message through?
Barriers, I think people, through no fault of their own, are of the understanding that they've got to have all the answers. They've got to know what to say. They've got to be well equipped to be like, how would I handle this situation? If we went and did this, if someone came to me and I didn't know how to answer that question, I'd be in an awkward position. It's like, that's what we need more of. Like, we need more of those conversations. Like, I don't know how to help this person, but I've got to figure out how to. And that's like the TIACS thing again, which we'll obviously get to it at some stage. But
so the idea that, vulnerability, do you think? Is that a word?
Without a doubt, yeah. And that's like a centerpiece to what we do. Yeah. Which is a word that's hard for people to understand.
Particularly in the trade,
Just, men in general.
Yep.
Vulnerability as a piece. I was chatting to a mate at the gym this morning who's the CEO of a pretty big construction business on the Darling Downs, and he was saying that's something that he's really struggled with the professional development with his team and leadership team, is that really trying to get that vulnerability piece in. Yeah. And for us, it's very much of, you've got to lead the way. If you're not talking about it, no one else is. And so, for us, Dan and I always talking about how we go and see a psychologist and how important that's been. I say to my mates, me and my wife go and see a marriage counsellor or a marriage psychologist. It's been incredible. It's like having a fucking A-grade coach there. It's like having Wayne Bennett in your corner telling you how to be better. It's just the best. And just having those shared understandings with our team too. It's like, hey, I'm really struggling this week. Well, this thing's happened and I've been super anxious about it, and this is how I'm handling it. But if anyone else, just being able to be more open and vulnerable for sure, so you can lead the way.
Yeah, I love that, because it needs to go from the top down, like you said, like in those organisations, the top level leadership team, if they show that vulnerability, then it's going to filter down through the rest of the organisation.
Well, what if you're not going to do it? Who else is? Yeah. And if you're there preaching it, well, we don't try and preach about it. We kind of let the community do the talking for us. Yeah. However, if we're not leading the way and doing that kind of stuff, what hope do we kind of have? And we're not perfect. I mean, we're just two young blokes that, well, not as young as we were, but we're not mental health advocates, professionals. We're just two blokes who are trying to create organisations to make some really big cultural changes in help-seeking behaviour and having people more connected. Yeah.
How about women? Like, I know it's a very male-dominated industry, but how do you think are women affected by these mental health issues, and what are your thoughts around that?
Without a doubt. Most of the things that we hear from female tradespeople or women working in the blue-collar space, is that men are really leaning on them as a support person a lot of the time, and it's pretty overwhelming for a lot of them, because for some reason, at times men don't feel like they've got a strong enough connection with another bloke on site or a male friend to be able to, or colleague to have that conversation. So they're kind of leaning on that female counterpart.
Yep.
And as we know, there's not that many in the blue collar space, so it can be quite overwhelming with the percentage of men that are kind of leaning on them. Yeah. So for us, we're really trying to make sure that we know that, you know, women can reach out and use TIACS as well, and you know, and they need as much support as anyone else. It's just men as a percentage, just the statistics is that they're a lot more, I suppose, at risk of taking their own life. So we want to make sure that we're there to lead them in the right direction.
Yeah. Something I've been really curious about, and I went through my own little mental health struggles a few years ago, and a real pivotal point for me when I was going through that, because I made some business decisions that wasn't going really well, but my anchor through that whole situation was my wife, my partner.
Yep.
And I've got a mate that's lost 4 friends, and all of his friends were all married with kids. And I just wonder, because I think when you're going through that and you're in the depth of that depression, it's okay, like I needed to be around my mates, but the number one person was my partner. And if she would have started hating on me a bit and go, well, hey, it serves you right, you made your bed, like that, I reckon would have tipped me over the edge. Like I was having suicidal thoughts through that process, but I'm just not seeing as much awareness. Now, it's not a blame game. It's just from that awareness perspective of the partners out there aware of how critical their support is to their partner.
Yeah, I just don't think that their relationships as a whole are connected enough. You know, I don't think people have got a strong enough connection with their partner and haven't been vulnerable enough with their partner. Yeah. I think I see that a lot. I mean, you know, I'm not in a perfect marriage. No one is. No. I'm not in perfect friendships. No one is. It's a continuous work. You continually work on it. Like, you got to put the reps in, right? And you fuck stuff up all the time.
100%.
I think that's my understanding is we don't have strong enough connections, and that's something that we're really driving at TradeMutt is for people to be more connected, because like the Are You OK Day stuff, and Dan says this a lot, it's like our goal is to create workplaces and relationships where you don't even need to ask if you're okay. You just know. Yeah,
but I'm not a personal advocate of that, because I think as a bloke, someone goes, are you okay? You're just going to come up with that statement.
Exactly.
Yeah, mate, I'm fine.
But if you've got a strong enough connection with someone,
you'll know there's something wrong.
I haven't. You know, I speak to Magnus every 2 weeks, and he hasn't fucking called me in 2 weeks.
Yep.
And then you call up and you don't answer.
Yep.
And then you send a text message and you hear back a day or two later and you think, fuck, I know him well enough to know that that's not right.
Correct.
You know.
Yep. And be proactive about it.
But that's what we need in marriages and partnerships and stuff, so that if you're struggling as you were, you're able to have that conversation with your partner and say, fuck, I'm not great. Yeah. And then she doesn't need to solve your problems. She just needs to kind of be there. Yep. Yeah. And say, you know, I'm gonna be whatever you need, I'm here for you, you know. And just be that anchor. Hopefully we can create more of those, through the work that we're doing, because I think it's super important.
Yeah, I love what you said about connection, because I see that as a real pivotal point as well. As a society, I don't think we're as well connected, and just with the technical age, but being able to have that level of connection. Like you go back to the dawn of time, back in the tribal communities, it was very, very community and very, very close knit.
Yeah, absolutely. Like there was, I've got to find the source of the statistic, but it came out of Britain, I know that, and that's if you're a pack-a-day smoker, you're less likely to die than someone who's spent a great deal of their life isolated. If you're isolated, you're actually more likely to die than a pack-a-day smoker. That's how bad it is for human beings to not be connected with one another.
Well, COVID really hit the trigger on that, didn't it?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, it was a crazy thing, wasn't it? Thinking back now, it feels like lifetimes ago, but it really wasn't that long ago at all.
I'm still reminded about it daily when I just look at the economy.
God, let's not get into that.
So TIACS, tell us about that.
Yeah, so TIACS was how do you describe it? It was kind of the next evolution of what we were doing. So with TradeMutt, we were always intended to be a social enterprise. Took us a while to get to a point where we were actually making any money to be able to donate and do anything, of social change in regards to a financial contribution. We're doing plenty in the community with our shirts and our message, but to be able to actually invest that money into actual change was something that took a while. And through the process of starting TradeMutt, we really came to understand that there was a massive, massive gap between what we were doing with starting conversations on a regular basis and building that connection.
Awareness and action.
Yeah, and then the end of the line, which was really the cross support services.
Yes.
And so we were having lots of conversations with people, obviously, and then this thing that just kept coming up was, where do I send someone or where do I go if I need a little bit more help? And Dan and I were looking at each other like, fuck, we don't know. We can't really answer that question. So we looked at the space and realised for Dan and I, in the situation we were, young business owners, we'd have to take time out of our day, go see a GP, attend the appointment.
Get a referral.
Get on a mental health plan. Get a referral. Find a psychologist or a counsellor. Go. Yeah. Lots of stages to go through. Lots of spots to fall off. Anyone that works in sales or marketing, your funnel, it's just too many steps. They're going to fall off. Your conversion rate's dog shit.
Yep.
So for us, we were like, right, there's got to be an easier way than this. And it's not another crisis support service. We've got plenty of those and they're overrun. Yeah. So throwing more money at that doesn't kind of make sense because we're very simple-minded, Dan and I. It's very like, this is the problem. Like, how do we solve it? And we felt and came to understand that people just need access to a professional as quickly as possible and as easily as possible.
Pick up the phone. So we said, why don't we just buy a mobile phone, hire a fucking psychologist and tell them to answer it when it rings? Sounds pretty simple. Again, naive, like our co-CEO, Sue, who does all our clinical stuff and governance, she just goes, you guys are fucking mad. How the hell did you even start this thing? It's insane. Yeah. But that's what it is. So, TIACS is a text and call mental health counselling service for tradies, truckies, rural and blue-collar workers, Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. We deliver professional mental health counselling with the same counsellor, up to 8 sessions for individuals completely free of charge. Sessions around 45 minutes. On average, callers are having 4 to 5 sessions with us. 75% of our callers are male, and leading reasons for people reaching out is finances and relationships. So we supported. So in the first quarter of this financial year, so July to September, supported did 600 sessions. 600. How long has it been going for now?
We launched it on the 8th of June, 2020.
2020. Okay. So in the last 4.5 years, so there's some pretty good numbers in those 6 months stats. What numbers have you put through the program or system?
Well, it's a funny one because when we first got to a point with TIACS where we had enough money to invest into the data reporting structure, the organisation we went with ended up going broke about 18 months ago. So they wiped all our data. Well, not wiped it, but it was pretty much obsolete. Even the way they were calculating it wasn't great. Yep. So we know it's over 20,000 people we've helped. We know that as a base number.
That's awesome.
Yeah, which is great. But, a $250,000 implementation of a new tech stack and data reporting software. Now we're, So the first quarter of this financial year was the first quarter that we've done. So, 600 sessions then, and we're just waiting for, last quarters to come through now.
Mate, that is absolutely epic. I think just from a proactive approach, because I hear a lot in the awareness space that everybody is aware, and I think we all are very aware that there is issues within it, and having a system in place and somewhere for people to go, I think is absolutely awesome. So
yeah, thank you. And for us, it's again simplicity, but being professional. Yeah. And so TIACS's vision is to be the mental health counselling service you tell your mates about. So I just love to be at a pub one day, overhear a group of mates talking about it and someone recommend it. Like that's kind of my, blue sky, expectation one day to be able to hit something like that would be amazing. But most of the people that are reaching out at the moment are being referred by mates, which is really good. Yeah. So it means the service is working. It means it's helping those that are reaching out and they're feeling empowered enough to then go and share that with someone else and have that connection and say, hey, look, I've done this. I really recommend you reach out and do it as well.
Really highlights what we talked about before, that connection piece, because a lot of blokes, they might see a phone number and go, I'm not ringing that. But as soon as they've got one of the other boys going, hey, mate, I'm probably not in a position to help you with this, but, mate, I gave these guys a ring. They were awesome. Yep. Give them a call. That's enough to trigger the action, isn't it?
Absolutely. And the thing that we're really driving as a message for people is everyone has known or does know of someone that needs to speak to someone or needs a bit more help. rather than going to that person and promoting something for them to go and do, you do it first. So we always say, reach out, call TIACS first. Give them a call, understand how it works, then go and speak to your mate or your loved one or your partner, and then tell them about how it operates, rather than be like, here's a phone number, heard this bloke on a podcast pissing on about it. Give it, like, you call first, because people think that, I'm taking the service away from someone else. It's bullshit. It's a narrative it's a complete fabrication of the truth. It's not true. It's a lie. So we're very much of reach out. If we don't answer, we'll call you straight back. We've got 100% callback. That's what we do. We're not a crisis support service. We'll ring you back and get you booked in and have a chat with one of our counsellors.
Fantastic. Now, I've built a few businesses in my time, and I know that journey is not easy, and I understand that you blokes probably got the same pedigree as I've got. You haven't got an MBA in your corner. So talk us through some of the challenges that you've been through in getting TradeMutt off the ground.
It's endless. I mean, we the insane thing was that, we launched 2 businesses, so TradeMutt and TIACS. You know, TIACS a fully DGR charity, TradeMutt social enterprise. So many issues from staff to product to service delivery, cash flow, forecasting. It never ends. And, it's something that's stuck with me a lot is that I've got a mate who I'm in business with as well, with another little side project, and he listed a business a few years ago, and as he was going through that listing process, he was chatting to a bloke who had a pretty big business, and I said, when does it kind of happen, and he goes, what do you mean? He's like, well, when do you kind of just have it all ironed out? Like, when you're at that scale, what scale do you need to be at? And he goes, mate, the bigger you get, the bigger your problems are, and the bigger decisions you got to make. Like, it's never done. And I think that's a really good thing for Dan and I to embrace, is that it's just the journey, and we know that it's not over until we come in one day and say, you know what, we've fucking had enough. And sort of, as you know as well, like, the business isn't over until you stop. There's always a way. As bad as the way may be, it's like there is still an option, and that's how we look at business and our journey. It's not over until we throw the towel in, basically.
So just if there's some young tradies out there and people are thinking of starting up their own business, what would be the one piece of advice that you'd give them?
Go and seek help from as many good business owners as you can find. They don't need to be doing anything that your business does, apart from maybe it's marketing. Maybe you see a business that's just a kick-ass marketing, and you're like, how are you doing that? How are you getting your brand out there? How are you getting your message? Might be someone that's really good at sales. Go and chat to them. Go and talk to people. Just the flow of information is so important. I think that for some reason trade businesses just fucking do not talk to one another, do not learn from each other's mistakes. It is just such a weird old school mentality, and it just makes no sense because no one wins. What we've been so fortunate with, like, e-commerce is really the centerpiece of our business with TradeMutt. It is one of the most collaborative because it's so new. Like, e-commerce as a industry is relatively new, right? 30 years old, whatever, 40 years old. So everyone wants to help one another. Facebook ads, talk to this person. Google, go and spec. You need emails, go and use this software. This is really good. And these people help you set it up. It's really collaborative and helpful. It's not this, closed door and no assistance like the trade industry seems to be. It's, very collaborative, which is amazing.
Yeah. If you can share have you got a favourite success story?
Favourite success story. I mean, like what my folks have been able to do with the hand they've been dealt is pretty admirable. I've said that to a few mates just recently. Like, mum and dad were in a family partnership that all went tits up when I was 3, and mum and dad left home with a Land Cruiser wagon, a horse float, and $5,000 in cash. And me as a 3-year-old, and my sister was 7 months into mum, so she was a couple of months away from being born. Dad, no tertiary education. Mum was a nurse, and they scratched and clawed and fought their way through to putting Laura and I both through private education, and now Dad's 65 this year, and he retired 2 years ago, and they've got just under 200 acres outside Toowoomba and living like kings. It's incredible what they've been able to do. So I think it's just the story of resilience and again, not throwing the towel in, just finding a way, just gritting your teeth, asking for help, and working really hard basically, and not expecting anything. I think that's another thing. It's just that there was no expectation of I'm deserving of something, so I've just got to work really hard to get myself the opportunity to be, get that reward down the track. So
there's so much discussion around that resilience piece, and obviously mental resilience. And it's interesting that you brought up your parents, because obviously that's that previous generation. How have you found, do you think as a society that we're a little bit weaker in that space, in the resilience space, or what's changed?
No, I just think that there's society has just changed so much. Like, it's just changed so much. I mean, from just the information overload, like I've got, people in my life that are, starting their journey out of school now, and, they're not doing a certain job or whatever because the money's not enough. It's like, well, it's actually got nothing to do with the money. It's the opportunity to grow and learn and get a work ethic, really. When I first started working in the territory, I think I was on $110 a day. I was only chatting to someone, my brother-in-law actually the other day, like we were fighting a fire there for 3 days straight. I got paid for 3 days. So, 3 days and nights we're out there sleeping in the back of Land Cruiser utes, eating tin baked beans and smoking Champion Ruby. Like, I got paid for 3 days of work. I was out there for 3 full days and nights, It was, work hard, expect really nothing, but get a really good work ethic. And I think that that's what builds a resilience in. I think there's a big kind of societal shift now of I'm owed something.
It's entitlement.
Yeah, kind of. And it's like, well, I've gone and studied this long at uni, I should be getting this much money out of school. It's like, well, you're looking at social media and a couple of 1%ers who are sort of spreading complete bullshit about who they are and what they do. And, I look at it, I was only having this conversation the other day with some mates. It's like, Dan and I have worked really, really hard, and we've got a really good business, and it's making some really good change. And people would look at us and go, "Wow, they're killing it." But it's like, well, I'm still sitting on the floor at night having my dinner at a coffee table in a house that needs a full rent. Like, I'm not living in some mansion, and and that's after 8 years of hard fucking toil starting our business and getting it going to a point now where we've got 17 full-time employees and stuff. This whole idea of it just happens, and you endless amounts of, it's just ridiculous. And we've got to really change that to get back to what makes you happy. The resilience is in the hard work and enjoying the journey, which we've talked about.
Yeah.
And don't expect anything. Don't expect anything from anyone, really. You gotta work hard and put yourself forward and continue to grow and evolve and be better.
Yeah. So social media, and I know with the younger generation in particular, and it's something in one of my businesses that I've had to embrace. I got to say I'm not a fan, but it's part and parcel of running a business in today. So 2 questions. How have you guys found it? Because you need to be in that space for a degree of success. But then it's also the downside from a mental health perspective on the impact that has on young men. Yeah,
it's an interesting one, isn't it? So for us, I mean, no secret. Like, we obviously spend a lot of money on Facebook for Facebook ads. We do a lot of content on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram and everything like that. Really, we look at it as that of the messages, ours is a really important one, and we've got to get it out there.
Yeah.
And sadly, in regards to medium, this is probably the cheapest and easiest way for us to be able to do that. And if we can get our message in front of a few more people, and someone's going to pick that phone number up and call TIACS, or they're going to pick the phone up and ring a mate, or they're going to get a shirt and wear it to work and start some conversations every time they wear it to work, well, that's a pretty good outcome, be it through a medium which isn't perfect. So it's we've kind of got to balance that between the message we're doing, what we're doing it on, and the importance of what we are doing is we've got to get it out there to more, and the more people that wear a shirt to work and start those important conversations, the better we can make society, hopefully.
Yeah, because the old television advertising and the newspapers,
it's expensive and arduous and hard to track, and especially when you're a small business, like, you've got to be really wise with your dollar. You can't.
And you've got to be where the eyes are, because young blokes aren't watching free-to-air television. They're not reading the newspaper, so you've got to be where they are.
Totally. So, yeah, social media, I mean, yeah, for Dan and I, it's been a difficult one because I hate it. I embrace it when I have to. But, yeah, as a thing, like, I really don't like it. The only social media I like really is LinkedIn, just because of the professional side of it and the ability to network with some really important people.
I agree.
And build that out, which has been really good.
Yeah. Just talking about from the preventative measures. Now, I had issues with alcohol over the years, and that was a big trigger for me to completely get off the piss, and that was a big root cause of the depression that I was suffering.
Okay.
And I've just recently, as part of the M26 Fit brand, we've got a dry 25. So we've got a group of about 20 blokes that have signed up. We're all doing a dry 25. We've all got accountability buddies and a great little initiative. We've got a little WhatsApp group. Everybody's throwing stuff up on there and checking in on each other. But what are your thoughts around that? Because I know it's fairly... it's a big problem throughout the construction industry.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I mean... Yeah, again, it's just societal and the norms, right? It's,
it's going to the pub after. Back in my day, everybody used to go to the pub after work. Like, that was just the way things were.
Yeah.
It's not as bad, I think, nowadays, but there's a lot of blokes that are picking up a 6-pack of whatever on the way home every single afternoon. And
yeah, I think it's for people to kind of have a look at it and kind of frame it like, is this, is this what I want to be doing? Is this good for me? Or am I just in a bit of a routine here?
Correct.
Because I've been there, and we'll be there again at some stage with something else. Luckily for myself, I've really gotten away from that beer at night during the week. Like, I just don't have a beer during the week. I even said to my wife last night, which is weird because I don't ever really think about it during the week, but because it came out of Christmas and you're basically drinking grog for 7 days or 8 days straight with family members and mates, I was like, geez, I feel like a stubby tonight. But I was like, I won't do it because I was like, I'll regret it and then I'll be off myself a bit and it's not worth it, and I think it's just, moderating. And I know I've said to Dan, like, if we'll go, because we do a lot of speaking stuff and we travel around the country, and if we go out for dinner or something, I'll try not to have more than 1 or 2 glasses, because you can feel if you have 1 or 2 glasses of wine at dinner, like, you wake up, you've had 1 or 2 glasses of wine the night before. It doesn't take much.
Comments I'm getting from the boys, like, they've all now been through a few days, they've been through a few weekends because it kicked off on the 1st, and just seeing that level of cleansing, they've jumped into their fitness as a consequence, and it's a lot easier to do that. It's a lot easier to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning when you've gone to bed early and you haven't had half a dozen beers. So
totally, and once you get your routine going, like for me, like my wife and I, we go to the gym 5 to 6 days a week, and I come down to Darra 3 days a week. So I've got to get up at sort of 4:25, 5 a.m. gym, back. That's right. Lunch, an hour at home, and then I'm off. So if I'm not in bed by 8 o'clock and having a read for 30 minutes, I'm going to feel like shit at 4:25 tomorrow. So it's not in my best interest to have a beer with dinner and then fluff around and watch TV till 9:30, because I'm stealing from myself tomorrow. Yeah. So it's those sort of things. Once you start holding yourself accountable, and from a learning standpoint, like Atomic Habits as a book was a really big thing for me. Yeah, because I was just like, this is just actually so simple. Because like we said, like you. Tablets in the morning or whatever, you'd forget them, or you'd miss brushing your teeth, or you'd do something, But once you get those habits laid down, it's not even an issue anymore, because it's just happening just automatically. It's just on repeat, and then you can cut that stuff out, like I've got spare 40 minutes, I might just sit down TV and have a stubby. Like those things just don't happen, which is good. But I'm a big advocate of being able to go and have a beer with a mate, and like we go to the cricket every year. It's a 12-hour bender. Like, it's a big day on the beers at the cricket, and it's a really good way for me to be able to connect with my mates. So, alcohol, luckily, I don't have an issue. I can say I'll have a heap with mates once or twice a year, or I'll have 1 or 2 down the pub, or I'll have none at all. I'm glad I'm able to make that kind of shift through the gears, which is good. Yeah.
I wasn't back in an early stage. I was a raging alcoholic where it every single night, and that's what when I had to get off it altogether, that was the meaning behind all of that was that I was a slave to it.
Yeah.
And so you weren't able to do exactly what you like. Okay, you want to go and have a beer here, and but like you said, it's not the sort of thing as a habit that you're picking up a 6 every night.
Totally. And people are out there doing it. I mean, funny, the exercise piece for me, because I used to smoke, full time, and for me to get off the smokes, like I needed to go and do something else, and that was exercise. Like started playing footy down at Morningside, and that was like, right, well, if I want to be better at playing footy, I've got to have a better lung capacity and be fitter, and I've got to get off the dart. So it was kind of the transition of one thing into another. It wasn't kind of like cancelling one thing out, leaving a void. It was removing something but then adding something new in, and that was like a really big thing for me, because I just was at the stage where I was like, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to quit smoking, because this is just such a part of what I do. Yeah,
because a lot of tradies, because when I was going through my struggle, I was active at the time. I was actually building a house for myself, but there's a big difference between that level of activity, being on your feet all day, which is better than sitting on your ass in the office all day. But at the same time, I found just from an endorphin rush, going out there, getting on the bike or getting into the gym and smashing yourself. So do you find the same thing, that you get a rush out of it?
Without a doubt. And for me, and you know, it is true, like once we finished on the tools, as soon as we got into our doing our business full time, because we were just working flat out, there was no, I wasn't doing any exercise, and I lumped all this weight on, became this fat little podgy bloke. Like it was just an issue, and I felt lethargic, and I wasn't getting the best out of myself. And so the transition of, righto, I need to really, if I want to get the best out of the business and the best out of myself, I really need to be I need to be playing A grade, right? Like Dan and I have been talking about this whole mentality of like winning. This year's the mindset's winning, right? This year, and it's like we got an A grade business. We need A grade players, and if I'm not rocking up and playing A grade every week, well, how can I expect everyone else to be?
Exactly.
So again, for me, it's like, righto, well, if I want to go to the gym in the morning, and I also want to spend some time with my wife after the gym and not be in a rush, I've got to get up at 4:25.
Yeah.
And I've got to be in bed by 8. And it's not an issue once you get it going. It's like the first time you get up, you're like, oh my God, fuck, 4:25, this sucks. But it's like, if I don't go to the gym and have an hour at the gym every morning, you're not going to get the best out of, I'm not going to get the best out of myself at work all day. And there's just a flow-on effect. So the meeting that I had to be on for that person that came, that didn't quite get all the information out of me, or as much as she should have, or he needed out of me. And that flows on, and then it just, I need to be, we need to be on. So.
And it's all relative, because I've heard that on so many occasions. To win the morning, you've got to win the night before. And there's no point, like you said, people who want to join the 5 a.m. club, but you're not going to bed till 11 o'clock. And then, like you said, so it's getting into those habits.
The best thing is the Apple on your phone. You just go set bedtime here, wake up here. It'll tell you when to go to bed. It's great.
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple.
What about nutrition? Because that's the other thing that tradies aren't exactly renowned for, it's the pies and the sausage rolls and the chocolate milks and even the energy drinks now.
Yeah, I was horrific, because I'm a celiac, so I got diagnosed first year out of school in 2011. For me, diet was something that, I neglected.
You're forced into?
Yeah, well, I did, but then I neglected myself a lot when I was a bachelor and working on the tools, because, again, I wasn't prioritising myself. I was just, doing kind of the bare minimum, right? So once I found my now wife, and we started going out, like she was like, right, well, you need to start eating, like you need to eat properly, because she still remembers, like she'd make me a big feed or whatever, and I'd have half a plate because my everything, all my guts were all just fucking horrific. Now, like diet is just like A1. So it's we go down to the markets every Saturday, get all the fresh produce. I've been right into the eggs this last couple of weeks, actually making these smick eggs every morning. But pack my smoko, because if you don't pack your smoko, well, then you're going to go and get something.
Meal prep.
Yeah. Well, you're going to be in a rush at work, and you're not going to go and find something healthy. You're going to go through a drive-through somewhere. So for me, it's very much
preparation piece again, isn't it?
Yeah. Let's just cook a bit more for dinner and stick it in the. Stick it in the pan for tomorrow and take it to work. So it's just those sorts of things has been important. And just prioritising nutrition has been a really important thing for me, because if I don't eat properly, I'm not functioning properly either.
Yeah. What about hydration? Is that something you have a focus on?
So I went into the AG1. So Dan, I've been doing the AG1 for for about 18 months, I would say.
What's that?
So it's athletic greens. So it's just like an all-in-one greens drink. So we have that every morning. And then at the gym, I'll either have a electrolytes in my water, or I'm just drinking water most of the day. So I've got the big Yeti bottle that we drink, the Bunnings TIACS Yeti bottle, which I drink probably 3 of those a day. The big bastards. So do drink a lot of water, compared to when I was on the tools. You kind of perish yourself, drink a heap of water, perish yourself, whereas kind of consistently drinking during the day now. Do
you think it's easier just with the nutritional side of things, that now when you're more office based, do you think it's harder for the guys on site, or does it come back down to the meal prep?
I think it's just meal prep. Everyone's got a smoko box or a cooler. Just chuck your tucker in there, put a banana, an apple, bit of smoko, bit of yogurt, something like that. Just cut out the chips and the processed shit. Just have whole foods. It's so much easier. And I think the interesting thing as well, I was talking about going to the markets on a Saturday. Like, it's just incredible how much cheaper it is just to go down and buy your basic groceries for the week from the markets. It's incredible how much cheaper it is. Your meat and stuff's kind of on par, but all your veggies and stuff is just pennies on the dollar compared to Coles and Woolies.
Another thing that I'm fairly curious about is when I look at their issues, and when I was in construction and running construction companies, I found, and particularly as a site manager, the guys and the issues I was having on site were not caused on site. They were guys that were having problems at home, and then they turn up to site because they've just had a blue with their girlfriend and blah, blah, blah. So it's from that whole mental health, and people obviously in that work environment, you spend a lot of time at work, and having guys and the issues that management level are dealing with within the trade sector, and how they're trying to manage that when the problems are a lot more personal versus work related.
It's a really difficult one. I think it's building, again, more connection with your employees so that they can feel empowered to come and talk to you about these issues, and you can kind of alleviate that pressure that they're having then on the job site or at work. So for Dan and I, with TradeMutt and TIACS, we implemented one-on-ones sort of after COVID, and that's been a really big thing for us. I do the one-on-ones with our senior leadership team across both TIACS and TradeMutt, and then it kind of line managers down. So our COO does it with the managers under her. So
starting at the top down again.
And so it just allows sort of that connection between all the employees and their line manager to be, hey, look, I'm really struggling with something at the moment. I need that help, and having that rapport and that fixed time where they can have those open conversations. And again, that's like a thing you've got to do if you're a business owner or a manager. You've got to be able to have those stronger connections with your employees. So when someone is struggling at home, they can come and have that vulnerable conversation. Say, we're really struggling. I either need some time off, or I just need something that isn't going to sort of pique my stress or my anxiety today or the next few days. And again, also hopefully that line manager or manager has reached out to someone like TIACS or an organisation like that, so they can then say, hey, look, I'd recommend you give these guys a call so they can help alleviate and help you with some of these things. And then hopefully they can then have that conversation with their partner, and their partner can also reach out and kind of have that thing going, right? So that's kind of the whole circle approach with love.
Very, very well said. So you mentioned winning before. So do you guys have a success matrix? How do you measure success and measure winning?
Well, for TradeMutt, it's really just ensuring that we're meeting targets, we're creating quality products, we're delivering on, again, creating a really good community, and also making a workplace that people want to come to every day. We do the 4-day work week, which is really good with TradeMutt, and it's been it's an overwhelming success for us and our business and just our employees and just morale. And
so, sorry, just talk us through that. So you guys do what, like 4 10-hour days sort of thing?
No, it's four 7.6-hour days.
Yep.
And the mentality and the expectation is that can never use the excuse didn't have enough time.
Yeah.
So you get paid for 5 days no matter what. We gift the 5th day off. You get paid, we just gift it off. During Black Friday and busier periods, we'll call people in, like end of financial year.
So is it a little bit results focused though? Is that?
Yeah, it's results focused, but also, how would you put it? It's very much of the give and take of, like, the best part is on the Friday.
Yep. Is
that, like last Friday, I spent probably 3/4 of Friday on the laptop just knocking things over. And it was beautiful because no one called me. No one was emailing or slacking me any questions. I was unfettered for 3/4 of a day. So I just nailed through my work. And so that's a beautiful thing as well. So if you're a bit behind or you need to catch up on something or you really want to sink your teeth in and get something done, that Friday is perfect because we're still paying you to work. It's not like you're doing something for free. Yeah. Or if you want to go down the coast for the weekend with your kids, go. Yeah. So it's just trying to create that workplace and for Dan and I to be those bosses that we would always want to be working for.
I love it.
Which is like, it's a big leap and it's a big leap of faith, but the interesting thing is like the more trust you put into people, they'll either really reward you in spades or you'll find them out that they really don't, they're just taking the piss and they move on naturally anyway because the rest of the group kind of, it'll kind of work
culturally,
itself out. Yeah, culturally it'll work itself out.
We're building that A-grade team, and at the end of the day, A-grade players are going to perform.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. So, and sometimes you've got an A-grade player who's been playing A-grade for ages and they've slipped into B-grade, and you've got to be like, look, you need to do this and this to get back to where you were. Yeah. And sometimes they don't.
Well, I think it's also setting expectation, isn't it?
Absolutely. And for like the big thing that we've noticed throughout our journey is that the people that don't last or don't stay on the bus are the people that don't grow and evolve with the organisation because you're just not the same that you were 12 months ago. Like you've gone, we've done this, we've done that, we've learnt this, we've failed at that. Like this is where we're at now. And if people are still singing from the hymn sheet 12, 24 months ago, one day you come to the office and you're like, it's over. It's not working anymore. And they either go or they've got to be, talked about going because it's just so important they continue to grow and evolve and be better with the business and evolve with it because it just happens so quickly, especially at the stage that we're at. Small businesses grow so quickly. Yeah.
So speaking of growth, where are you guys in? What's the next 5 to 10 years look like? Any plans to go international?
Yeah, the 5 to 10 year stuff's always been hard for us
because
it's
0 to 5.
Yeah, it's a funny one because it changes so quickly, right? Yeah. For us, we're just really committed to honouring what we've got. I think it's not trying to do too much. We've been very guilty of doing that over the years, trying to do too much. Ours is maintaining simplicity, creating a job that Dan and I want to get out of bed for at 4:25 and go to. That's what we want. If we're not doing that, then we're no hope. So those sorts of things have been really important. For TradeMutt, gee whiz, it'd be great to get it so that our retail space, like selling into retailers, is a bit bigger and we're selling a bit more volume through there, getting more tier 1 contractors on board and understanding the importance of a connected workplace and culture and starting those vulnerable conversations on a more regular basis and having Funky Shirt Friday really just ingrained in the weekly activation in the blue collar space around the country. And then on the side of TIACS, just continue to be that number one choice when someone wants to reach out to a mental health professional. And when someone wants to start their mental health journey, they're calling us and starting that with us. Hopefully they don't end it with us. They continue along their life, continually learning and reaching out to people and gaining access to support. So that's probably the two things there.
I absolutely love it. Let's jump into the quick fire questions.
Quick fire questions. Let's do it.
All right. What's your go-to coffee order?
Depending on the day, but it'll be either iced or long black. Yeah.
Same here. Steel toe or composite?
Oh, steel toe probably.
If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Fly.
The funniest reaction you've seen to a TradeMutt shirt?
What the fuck is that?
Morning workout or sleeping? I think you've answered this.
Workout for sure, yeah.
Favourite Australian slang?
Oh, Sheila's great.
If you weren't doing TradeMutt, what would you be doing?
I'd probably still be on the tools.
The most iconic construction project you've been on?
Been on.
Jeez. Or you've seen, say.
Most iconic. I mean, the Queen Street Wharf's been pretty impressive, hasn't it? It's been
a game changer.
It's been unbelievable. I mean, I went to Florence for my honeymoon. The Duomo and stuff there in Florence is just out of control. Yep. The stuff in Italy. So yeah, maybe a mix of those two.
One word to describe Dan.
Loyal.
Yep. And what one word would he use to describe you, do you think?
Oh, how would he describe me? Hopefully reliable. Hopefully reliable.
What do you reckon the hardest trade skill there is to learn?
Across any trade?
Yep.
Gee whiz. I reckon, like stonemasons,
Yep.
yeah,
I would
reckon
agree with that.
You see some of those old buildings and you're like, wow, that architecture is incredible in the way they carve those stones.
Yeah,
I think something
I had
like
a bit of that work done on my place, and standing there watching the blokes, like it's a combination of being a fantastic bricklayer, but then having the artistry of a really creative painter.
Yeah, I think something like stonemasonry would be pretty cool. Yeah.
Dream location for a TradeMutt shoot?
Dream location for a TradeMutt shirt? Geez, maybe, I don't know. I mean, I like Fraser Island, Kagara, yeah, anywhere there's really good.
What do you reckon the most underrated tool is in a carpenter's bag?
Underrated tool? I had, and Dan put me onto this, was the micro plane for knocking the edges off architraves and stuff like that. So
Yep.
taking the sharp edges off, it was a pretty good tool for me.
And if you could collaborate with any brand, what would it be?
I mean, Bunnings was the main one. We've ticked it off, which is cool. We've done BCF. Gee whiz, I don't know. Maybe doing something with a really big an Inspired and Employed, something like that would be good. But you'd never get them now. They're pretty well used up across most brands. But something like that could get into our target demo a bit more. It'd be good.
Yep. Favourite Aussie food you can't live without?
Favourite Aussie food? Just grass-fed rib fillet.
The biggest myth about tradies that you'd like to bust?
That we're stupid. That's just the fucking. We say it ourselves. It's insane. We're not. Furthest from it.
Mate, well said. Karaoke song that you'd like to rock a TradeMutt shirt in?
I won the Mount Isa karaoke at the Buffs Club one night, singing "Dancing in the Dark" by Bruce Springsteen. So we have to go with that. Won a rum, I think. Won 7-ounce rum.
If you had to pick one change that would create the biggest impact on mental health in construction, what would that be?
The biggest change would be just the cultural acceptance that mental health's a thing and we've all got it.
Yep. Finish this sentence, I believe.
I believe... what do I believe? I believe that, happiness is obviously, the journey and not the destination. It's very much enjoying the present as much as you can and, enjoying the ride.
Mate, fantastic. Thank you very much for all those valuable insights. It's been a pleasure to have you on the show, brother.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks for tuning in to the M26 Fit podcast. Remember, real growth happens one step at a time, and consistently working both on your mind and your body for 26 minutes every day will change your life. Hit subscribe to keep the inspiration going, and don't forget to share this episode with somebody who needs that extra boost. Until next time, stay connected and stay active.